Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Whittle Waffle, or episode 11 or something, or 12 if you're counting the audio podcast, which I don't think we're going to. Let's just make it episode 2. This is a whole new format, bladder. Thank you so much if you watched the last episode. I'm really grateful, and to those of you who subscribed also, that really was nice. It was really nice getting those emails to say that it happened, because it's such a weird thing to do, isn't it, to talk at your camera fast. It is a weird thing to do, so I appreciate you taking the time to spend that with me, so thank you very much. I think that's all I've got to say about that. Thank you. So I'm going to stick to pretty much the same format. I don't think that angle of this camera is quite right, but this is the best I can do. I've tried it in lots of different ways. I feel like I'm looking that way, and I don't know why. It's not quite right, is it? If I fiddle. Is that better? Oh, that's better, isn't it? Hello. So yeah, same format. We'll do stuff that I've read, stuff that I listened to, stuff that I've watched, any other geeky business, and knitting at the end. And yeah, so there's probably not going to be quite as much to talk about, although you know me, tangent city. I sure do like to go off on a tangent. So we'll see how I do. But I haven't had as much time, obviously. I had like 2 years worth of stuff to pick from, and now I've got 2 weeks worth of stuff, so it's not going to be as much, but hey ho, name of the game. So stuff that I have been reading this week. I have 2 books on the go. Do you do that? I'm not the only one, am I? Just like, do you just read one book and then you just read that book, and then when you're finished you have another book? I don't work like that. I often have 2 or 3 or more books and a comic. Sometimes I just have one, focused, head down, but sometimes I'm a meanderer and I'm like, I don't fancy that. Fancy something else. Something darker, something lighter, something funny, something, serial killery, something hard sci-fi. Anyway, you know what I mean. Just listing genres now. But I'm reading 2 books at the moment. The first one is called The River King by Alice Hoffman, who I think is an exceptional writer. Really love her style, and she does have a very distinct style. She has had at least one of her books turned into a film, which you might have seen. It was called Practical Magic in 1998, I think. It is one of my most watched films in the world, because do you do this as well? I have an ill film. If I'm ill, I want to watch Practical Magic. Makes us feel better. I don't know why. If I'm down in the dumps, I want to watch Clue. It's just, that's just how I roll. So I've watched Practical Magic a lot. It is my feel better film. And it is proper 90s. It's Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman, Stockard Channing, Diane West, who I just absolutely adore. She's just been in all of the best films. Parenthood, Lost Boys, 10th Kingdom. Do you remember 10th Kingdom? That a Sky miniseries. It was absolutely wonderful, outrageously wonderful. I love that thing so much. Probably talked to you about it before. It's amazing. Anyway, she was in that. I love her, but that's beside the point. There's quite a lot of differences between the film and the book. I think the book is kind of a little bit darker. It has her very, very distinct prose, but they're both fabulous in their own right, if you see what I mean. I'm not one of these people who I try not to get like, oh, they're adapting my favourite thing, I'm going to be mad. But sometimes I do. I did not react well, as the Nuge would tell you, to Superman Returns. thought it was shit, actually. I'm not going to beat around any bushes. I have a list of issues. So long as my arm, I will not bore you with them unless you want me to, in which case you can buy me a pint because I'll need it. And so will you. Anyway, The River King by Alice Hoffman. I have a blurb here. Aha, the shiny, lovely white light from my iPad down here. And now I'm going to have to do the librarian thing. Excuse me. I can't read with that on. I'll put my tea down. That would probably be a good thing. It would help. Okay, so blurby thing. For more than a century, the small town of Haddon, Massachusetts has been divided, as if a line drawn down the centre of Main Street, separating those born and bred in the village from those who attend the prestigious Haddon School. But one October night, the two worlds are thrust together by an inexplicable death, and the town's divided history is revealed in all its complexity. Ooh. So, I have read this book before. I don't know if I mentioned that. I am rereading it, but it's been about 10 years since I read it. Big fan of rereading, I'm sure I said that as well. One of the things that I love most about Alice Hoffman is her writing style and the way she writes prose. And I think a good writer can make you see an image very, very clearly in your head. And Alice Hoffman can do that absolutely 100%, but she can also make you smell it. And I just think that some of her prose is just so beautiful that you can kind of get, you can forget what's happening in the story a little bit. So, anyway, I thought I would read you a paragraph, which I think is legal if it's for review, which it is. So, it's a paragraph. So, here we go, see what you think. Often, the weather is unseasonably warm at the start of the term. One last triumph of summer come to call. Roses bloom more abundantly, crickets chirp wildly, flies doze on windowsills, drowsy with sunlight and heat. Even the most serious-minded educators are known to fall asleep when Dr. Jones gives his welcoming speech. This year, many in attendance drifted off in the overheated library during this oration, and several teachers secretly wished that the students would never arrive. Outside, the September air was enticingly fragrant, yellow with pollen and rich lemony sunlight. Along the river near the canoe shed, weeping willows rustled and dropped catkins on the muddy ground. The clear sound of slow-moving water could be heard even here in the library, perhaps because the building itself had been fashioned out of river rock. Grey slabs flecked with mica had been hauled from the banks by local boys hired for $1 a day, who cursed the Haddon School forever after, even in their sleep. So, this story is a sad story, but it's so beautifully written, and I'm only about a quarter of a way through the rereading. It's been a long time since I read it, like I say, so I can't quite remember what happens, which is nice because I can't remember how the story unfolds. So it's a treat to read it again, and I'm loving every second. So I am spending a lot of time with that at the moment. Really recommend trying one of her books. Just beautiful. Anyway, the other one that I'm reading at the moment, I don't know if you've seen it, but a trailer landed for the Disney's adaptation of Artemis Fowl, and there was a bit of up in armsness on the internet. Now, I don't usually watch trailers. Get me the Bad Geek t-shirt because I don't usually, I think, when it got to that point where they were 20 minutes long and then you didn't have to watch the film, I was like, oh, it's too much stuff. Or they started to put all the funny things in the trailer, so then that's it. Like, I just started finding then I wasn't enjoying films as much that I watched the trailers for, because they're just spoilers. That's what they are. And they're not supposed to be spoilers. They're supposed to entice you in. They're not supposed to ruin the film. And they're not supposed to actually give you a misdirection of what the film is. The best trailers are ambiguous. They're a hook. And that just doesn't happen very much. The last one I think truly did that was the trailer for The Fifth Element. Now I'm talking some not time ago. Loved them trailers. They were brilliant. Anyone with Tom Cruise running I'm kind of okay with as well. For reasons that are my own. But yeah, I really do think that the majority of the time they just spoil it. And if I've got an interest in seeing a film already based on a premise or on what it's based on, then I don't need a trailer necessarily. Anyway, what it did remind us of is the fact that that is an outstandingly brilliant book. Artemis Fowl by Eoin Colfer is the story of a 12-year-old boy genius from a rich background. His sidekick is his butler, called Butler. And he's trying to plot to basically steal riches from the fairy folk. And that's all I want to say about it, because it's spoilers after that, but it's very upfront about that bit in the first sort of paragraph of the book, so I'm not giving you any spoilers there. I love children's books. They're a bit of a passion of mine. I just love them. I think it's because I was such a vicarious reader as a child. That being, do you get transported like you do when you're a kid when you're an adult? Because I'm not sure you do. I think I'm always searching for that, and therefore children's books remain dear and important to me. But anyway, I love this one. It's clever, it's funny, it's very funny. And it's adventure, and it's got brilliant characters, and I absolutely loved it. And to the fact that I bought it about 6 times to give to various children for their birthdays and things. And I gave my copy away as well, so I actually don't have the first one. I have the next 1, 2, 3, 4. I have the next 4 on the shelf there, but I don't actually have the copy of the first one anymore. So I am using BorrowBox to read that. Aside, another tangent. How many tangents already? BorrowBox, if you don't know about this, is the best thing ever. It's an app you download, and you put your library card details in for your local library, and you then have access to all of your library's ebooks and audiobooks. And you don't have to go in there. You know, if the staff shout at your child or anything like that. So, and I really like that. I read a lot of ebooks, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks, so I'm really grateful for BorrowBox. It's brilliant. So thank you to Laura Trindle who told me about it. You're a star. So it's brilliant. So I'm reading that on BorrowBox at the moment, and I'm not very far in, and it has been a while since I read that, and I've already laughed out loud several times. It's just wonderful. So then I thought, everyone is really upset about it. Maybe I should watch the trailer just to see. Because if all the fans of the book aren't happy, then I'm not going to be happy either, am I really? I didn't thought that was my coffee cup. Honest. So I watched the trailer. I didn't hate it at all. Apart from that, the little boy doesn't look anything like what I would have thought that Artemis Fowl looks like. But then these things are extraordinarily subjective, aren't they? I mean, you could read the book and I could read the book, and we could both have a completely different idea of what the kiddo looks like. So that's, you know, by the by. I mean, look at Kenneth Branagh's Poirot. I mean, would you have imagined his moustaches like that? Because I did not. But then was I influenced by the fact that when I started reading the Poirot books, that I'd already seen several on-screen incarnations of Poirot? So did I envision his moustaches, or is that somebody else's? Oh, anyway, the little boy doesn't look like what I thought Artemis Fowl would look like. Aside from that, I thought it looked quite good. I think I might take the kiddo to go and watch it. Not the littlest one, the middle one. If she will, 13. But yeah, I was a little bit excited about it. The news she's never going to speak to us again. I thought it was quite exciting. So, it's been in development hell. Why is this film taking so long to appear anyway? If you know, please let me know. Because I don't know. I read another thing. I read a comic. Today, in fact. Oh yes. Guess who's back? I read a 2008 today. And then, you know what I did? I went online and I ordered myself a monthly subscription. Now, one of the reasons that 2008 Days really got away from us in the last 2 years since Ari came along is that I used to pick up my comics on a stand and order at the Travelling Man, which is a comic shop in Newcastle, and I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't get in. I wasn't coming up to Newcastle just to pick comics up, and I think they do a postal service, but was getting around to organising it, and I didn't, and it just totally got away from us. And I could have been picking it up in the newsagents down the road, but I just didn't. And then the longer I didn't read it, then the more I was thinking, well, am I going to be able to just start reading it? Shall I wait for a jumping on prog? If you don't know about 2008, every now and again, because it's been running for quite a long time, I have what's known as a jumping on prog, which will be all new stories so that it's more accessible. And then I thought, when I started reading 2008, it wasn't. I don't think it was a jumping on prog. So I just bloody well pick it up and see how easy it is to pick it up. And there was one story which I think I really just couldn't cope with. So if you don't know 2008 at all, which I'd be surprised, it is Britain's longest running comic book, and it usually has 4 or 5, I forgot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate stories running in parts each week. Obviously the most famous being Judge Dredd, the man, the legend. And the first story in the prog is always Judge Dredd. So there was Judge Dredd, which was a part 2, and actually totally accessible. I understood what was going on straight away. It was written by Kenneth Niemand, I think that's how you say his name. The art by Jake Lynch, and colours by Jim Boswell, letters by Annie Parkhouse. I really like the art, I really like the colouring, and like I say, the story was really, really easy to pick up for a part 2. So I was really, really happy, and I was really happy to be reading Judge Dredd, and I was reading Judge Dredd by new creators to me. So that was really nice and kind of exciting. And the next story was Sinister Dexter. Well, Sinister Dexter's been running forever and ever, and it's about Sinister and Dexter are hitmen. Yeah, they're hitmen. And because I know the characters, even though was that a part 2 as well? I think that there must have been a jumping on prog quite recently if these are all part 2s. I don't know if that's right. No, this was a part 1. So yeah, totally. That was all right. The next one, and that's written by, Dan Abnett, art by Steve Yall, colours by John Charles, letters by Simon Boland. The next one was The Saucer of Silk. Now, this is now written by Peter Hogan with art by Brendan McCarthy, colours by Len O'Grady and McCarthy, and letters by Jim Campbell. get you reading the actual prog again. And this to me was not accessible. So the last time I read this in the prog, I think Al Ewan was writing it. And to be honest with you, even reading it from the beginning, I didn't really know what was going on in it. So the fact that I didn't know what was going on in it now, it's not, I'll be honest, that story is not my cup of tea, although the artwork and the colours, give you a flash. Look at that. The colours are absolutely insanely beautiful. So I looked at it and I didn't read it, I'll be honest with you, because I read the first 2 pages and I was like, I've got no fucking clue what's going on. Pardon my language. I am a disgrace. Yeah, not accessible. The fourth one, which was also a part 2, is called Skip Tracer by James Peaty, who I don't know. Paul Marshall, colours by the lovely Dylan Teague, and letters by Simon Boland. Don't really understand what's going on at all, but actually could still pretty much make sense of the story. I don't know the background, but it was okay. I really did like the little circle panel. I love a circle panel. Love a well-used circle panel, cannot be beaten. If you've ever listened to me podcast before, you know my feelings on this. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm intrigued. I don't really understand what's going on, but it's still not inaccessible. The last one, Feral and Foe, part 10. This is Dan Abnett again. Art by Richard Elson, colours by Richard and Joe Elson, letters by Annie Parkhouse. I kind of have got a hold of what's happening a little bit, but not really, I'll be honest with you. So I could follow what was happening in this segment of the story, but the overall thing, nah. So if any of you 2000 AD readers out there would like to give me a little, this is what the shit's that's going on in the ones that I couldn't get, I'd be grateful. Might have to ring Pete Wills. I'd like to know, because now I've got my subscription coming. I'm very excited about it, and I was really happy to be reunited with my prog, and I'm really going to look forward to reading it, because if it comes on a Wednesday, does it come on a Wednesday when you subscribe? Does it? I'll be able to read it on my commute, which makes us really happy, because then I will definitely have time. That makes me happy. So yeah, I really enjoyed hanging out with my prog. Richard Hanson's artwork is absolutely amazing. There's this panel with the horses. Hang on a second, where is it? It's the very last panel, and I'll cover up all the writing and stuff. Can I do it? Oh, hang on. That one, look. You see that there? Did you ever watch the cartoon Dungeons and Dragons? You know the baddie out of that? That's what that looks like. It made us really happy. I wonder if it's an actual reference to that. I kind of hope it is. What was he called? The baddie out of Dungeons and Dragons? Did it begin with a V? Very bad man. I can't remember what he was called. He had like horns. It was the most terrifying to look at villain, but pretty ineffectual. Anyway, they're the things that I've been reading. So, things I've been listening to. Not much. I am still plodding on with Ghost Story. I've been doing more actual reading than audio reading, listening. I've been doing more real book than audio. No, they're real books. I've been doing less audio and more IO. Visual reading. It's a thing. Reading with my eyes. Oh God. So I haven't finished Ghost Story. And I'm finding it a little bit of a drag, actually, and I'm really surprised because I was quite looking forward to listening to this one. And I don't know why. It's a bit of a... Also, do you know what I think the problem is? I do always listen to my book for half an hour before I go to bed, and I'm so tired at the minute that I'm just passing out. So I think then the next day when I go to put it on, I'm like, what the shit is going on? And I have to go back a little bit. This is happening on a daily basis. That means that it takes a little while to get going. And so it's my fault, or my child's fault, or, you know, it's probably my husband's fault. I like to blame him for things. Because to be fair, it is usually his fault. But this, I think, is actually my fault. I think I'm falling asleep and I'm missing a bit, and then I'm listening to the same bits over rather than moving on. I think that's what the problem is. We'll get there. And I think I might have a break from the Dresden Files after I finish this one and listen to something different. I've got something like 7 credits racked up on Audible, so I think I might be looking for something else. So if you've listened to anything great recently, give us a shout. Let us know, because I am going to be looking for something new. What else? I have been catching up with the last few episodes of the Mega Sick Book Club. Eamon's amazing 2000 AD, mostly, but also other British comics podcast, which is just a joy. Actually, it's just a joy. So I have been listening to that rather than the ghost stories at the minute, but I'm just really enjoying it. I'd been a little bit behind, so it's nice to catch up with Eamon, and I am actually going to be going on that one at the end of the month, and I'm going to be talking about this, which is The Pit. So I'm not going to talk about this now because I'm going to talk about it then, but suffice to say that I lent somebody my copy of The Pit and it hasn't come back, and if it was you, could I please have it back, because the new one that I've ordered, it's a Titan one, and my version wasn't the Titan one. There must have been another version, and it looks really different, and it's, I mean, in one respect, a lot of the Dread Epics that I've bought have been Titan versions, so this will look smarter on the shelf, but I just preferred the other. If you've got my book, give us my goddamn book back. I want my book back. I don't know whose book this is, though it's technically mine now, and it will have to do. I like the other one. Is this me being weird? Is it? It's like, you know, a bit when they changed the covers for my Dresden Files books. Oh my god. I didn't take it well. I loved the old covers. So the Dresden Files were basically, when they started, like a PA series, and all the fronts of them looked like files, and they had like bits of, you know, labels on and stuff, and I really liked that. And then they changed it all to these mean and moody caped wizard with the staff on the front and stuff, and I can totally understand why they did it, but now half of my books are one and half are the other. The same thing happened when I was reading the Sandman comics, and I didn't care, because then I managed to buy a load of them cheaper, and I was okay about that. So why I was okay about that, and I'm not okay about that, and I'm not really okay about this, even though I have more of these, I don't know. I can't explain my weirdness to you. I wish I could explain it to myself, but I can't. But if I lent you my book, please could I have my book back? I'd be very grateful. Unless I haven't lent it to anybody and it's in this pigsty somewhere, which could well be a thing. Anyway, I think that's enough rambling on and not really talking about things that I'm supposed to be talking about. Stuff that I watched. There's not a lot. But let's talk about Picard. Now, there are going to be spoilers. I am going to be talking about the episode with Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sitges in it. So if you haven't seen it, fast forward or pause and go and watch it and then come back, because I'm going to spoiler it to shit. I think that's a big enough warning so nobody can get cross with us for now spoiling something that I've said I'm going to spoil. So this is what's happening now. Picard was on the Borg cube to rescue Soji, but all the Romulan badasses are there as well, and they're trying to get them because they want to destroy her, and they're not that enamoured of Picard either. But Hugh, the lovely Hugh from the Next Gen rescued Borg, who's in charge of the Borg cube, he finds he has a secret escape, and sends Soji and Picard off to a destination, and then all hell breaks loose on the cube. But Picard and Soji are sent to this world where Riker and Troy are living, and it's a really beautiful place in the woods. Their teenage daughter is running around, and Picard's all over the place. He's anxious. He's not his usual self. He is not Next Generation Picard at that point. He's just not. He's trying to do everything on his own. He's not relying on or trusting people to help him. And then after saying he wasn't going to go there, this is where he goes. Because where else would he go? He's in trouble and needs help. You go and find number one. I'm not welling up. You are. So he sees Troy first, and they have a big hug and stuff, and that's lovely. And I was like, oh, that's lovely. It's dead nice. And then when he goes into the house and he sees Riker, and Riker's making pizza. He's all covered in flour, and he gives him a big hug, and Picard's got flour right down his... That was it. I was gone. Gone. But that's not the bit that got us the worstest. No. The bit that got us the worstest was later on when they're chatting, and Riker puts his arm round Picard, and Picard gets a hold of his hand like that. Shakes it. I was like, cannot cope. It's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. And you find out a little bit about what's been happening with Riker and Troy, and that little, it's not too much. It's a nice bit of backstory. You know why they're there, what they're doing there. You know why they can't do any other help than giving him a temporary reprieve, really. But what they also do is massively bolster his confidence. They remind him who he is. They remind him that he's Jean-Luc fucking Picard. And they give him an opportunity to catch his breath, which he hasn't had since the series began. Now, for all of there's been a lot of complaints that it's been slow. I just don't agree with them. I don't agree with any of the people saying that it's slow. I just don't. And there's been a lot of comments about, oh, in the middle of a fight, he stopped make pizza. Yeah, because actually you can't fight 99. You can't 100% of the time. Number one, that'd be boring. It just would. Even John Wick has a really slow, like, long build up. And then there's slow down moments in that, because you can't have it all of the time. There's gotta be flow. Otherwise it's dull. And it's maybe why I had issues with John Wick too, but that's a separate point. I thought it was wonderful. You got enough of the story going on with the crew on his ship, and that whole mess that's there, and the stuff going on the Borg cube, and so with those three storylines weaving together, the fact that it's a little bit slower in one of those storylines, what's your problem? I'm starting actually to get quite cross at the criticisms from people who are obviously downloading it on a Thursday before it's released on a Friday, which is when it comes out on Prime, and then bitching about it before it's even come out over here. Like, if you're not enjoying it that much, why are you downloading it the day it's out? Why? And then putting up your vague booking or your out and out spoilers. It's really getting on me tits. Like, behave. A lot of people are really, really enjoying it. If you're not, don't watch it. Which is exactly what my friend Jim did. He was not enjoying it. He stopped watching it. I know a lot of the times when, as geeks, that we do actually like to pick at stuff and we like to talk about it, and but don't always enjoy it. But you have to be enjoying it like at least 90% or 80%. If you're not enjoying it at all, do something else. Learn a knit, I'll teach you. Give yourself some pleasure. Oh, hang on a minute, that sounded completely wrong. Do that. If that's going to stop you whinging on the internet and pissing me off, then go and do that. At least that stopped us ranting, didn't it? I mean it though. I'm a bit over you. And your bad self. I'm really finding it frustrating. I'm really, really finding it frustrating. I don't mind picking a bit and go, oh, well, I didn't quite like that or didn't like that. If you're out and out not enjoying it, don't watch it. Or watch it in, I don't know. It's getting on me goat though. If you're so desperately unhappy with it, leave it a couple of days, let everybody else get it out of the system, and then have your say. But you have to be the first one to watch it and get your say, and it's all negative. Whatever. I'm enjoying every second. I'm living every second, and I'm loving it. I think it looks beautiful. I think the storyline is unfolding exactly the right pace, and it's so lovely to me to have something that's paced and not just like boom, 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 boom. And I think there is enough of that. There's a lot of it. Anyway, I'm tangent again. But yeah, I'm loving every second. The only thing I can read. Oh, and I did. Did you see this lovely Easter egg? The T-shirt that their daughter's wearing has like a logo T-shirt, and it's a Klingon band. And when you translate it, it's Sex Phasers, so it's a Sex Pistols. I love shit like that. I was very excited about that. It was awesome. So there was that. I wrote down Picard, Riker and Troy, Sex Pistols. That was my entire notes for that section, by the way. The only other things that I've been watching is I finally finished season 5 of my rewatch of Elementary. I'm going to watch seasons 6, which I have seen, and season 7, which I haven't. So I'm really looking forward to that. And the only other thing I've watched apart from 7 million episodes of Hi Dougie. That sounded like I have a problem. I don't. Hi Dougie is one of the best children's programs ever made. It is. Me and the little ones have watched some of the Studio Ghibli movies that have been released on Netflix. We've watched Ariete, which we actually me and the older two went to see at the Pictures, so both of them have got a fondness for it because they saw it at the Pictures. And we watched Spirited Away. We've watched Spirited Away about 3 times actually, because the little one loved it, which was nice. So we've watched that about 3 times, and Ariete twice. So this is what happens when you have children. I mean, I'm rereading stuff that I've already read and re-listening to things I've already listened to, and now I'm rewatching things I've already watched, and I'm perfectly okay with that. There will be new stuff, undoubtedly. Wait for the boys. Anyway, so that's stuff that I've watched. Knitting wise, the yarn that I showed you last week, which is in my awesome knitting bag, how freaking cool, I'm sorry, is that? I only knit for the stuff. I have actually got enterprise stitch markers somewhere, but they're put away. So the ball of wool that I showed you last week, which is from Third Vault Yarns, and the colour is called Winchester's, and it's a supernatural themed ball, is very nearly a sockhead hat now. Excuse the needles everywhere. So my husband is very fond of a slouchy hat, and this is what this is. I'm not putting it on my head because needles, bobby pins, the whole malarkey. But I've made him quite a few of these slouchy hats. He likes them for when he can't be bothered to do his hair. He's very, very particular about his hair. He has to put 700 products on it before he leaves the house in the morning, and if he can't be bothered to do that, that's where these come in. So he has a couple, and this is going to be his new one. It's a lovely, lovely, easy pattern. It's called Sockhead Hat, and it's available on Ravelry, but basic, and it's a free pattern, so I'm not spoiling anything by telling you. It's just quite a deep rib, because we're fond of a deep rib. It's quite a deep rib, and then it's just stocking stitch for quite a long time before doing some decreases at the end, which is what I'm doing now, which is why it's all small. Now, I knit one of these hats before, and it seemed to take us 7 years, and I was really bored, and I hated the thing by the end, and I think that is rubbed up on the fact that I never hardly wear it, because I look at it and go, ugh. But actually, because I really have only been in the mood to knit very, very simple things lately, this has gone really, really fast. It's been just about... I hadn't got the needles the last time I spoke to you, so I will tell you that I ordered. This is knit on 3mm needles. These are Knit Pro Zings. I really like them. They're very, very light, and I like that because sometimes my hands get tired, and if the needles are heavy, it doesn't help anything. So, oh crap, it's a stitch marker I've just pulled off the flipping thing. These are really light, and it's a 16-inch cable, which means I've just been able to knit round and round and round and round. Usually I like double pointed needles, DPNs, for hats, but this is an extra large size, and I think I had to cast on 162 stitches, and it's just too many for DPNs. They were just falling off one side and then falling off the other, and I just thought, oh, for fuck's sake. So I bought the 16-inch needle, round and round and round and round and round, nearly done, and I'm really happy with it. It's a lovely pattern, and it's a lovely hat, and it's beautiful yarn, so there you go. I have a yarn cupboard in the corner of the room, and it's a bit of a knacky old cupboard where the it used to be an airing cupboard. It used to have the boiler in there, but that's obviously come out a good few years ago now, but it's sort of, it's not ideal, but it's mine. And when we moved in and there was just so much to do, everything just got shoved in it. I actually took the time at the weekend to pull everything out. I sorted out all the boxes. I put all the sock weight yarn with the sock weight yarn, the DK, the double knitting with the double knitting, the Aran with the Aran. I wound mini skeins of leftovers. I put every single thing in a reusable bag because I had moths once, and I lost about £150 worth of yarn, which broke my heart. Never doing that again. So everything in bags, and that was slipping a bit on that. So, you know, if I bought something new, it was just going straight in. Nope, everything's bagged. And what was really nice, because I think I mentioned last week, last podcast as well, that I only really wanted to knit very simple things, is that spending some time with all the very, very beautiful wool that I've got. It was really inspiring. I was like, oh, I forgot I had this, and I forgot I had this. I forgot I had a sweater, a couple of sweater quantities of stuff I had forgotten all about, and I was like, oh. So I've been looking at patterns on Ravelry and deciding, and I think I'm going to cast on a jumper for me, and I'm in two minds about it being a pattern called Felix by what's her name? Is it Amy Christophers? Can't quite remember. Somebody Christophers. Which is a slightly cropped jumper with some interesting raglan increases here. So I'm quite tempted by that one. And there's a couple of others, just really plain ones that I quite fancy the look of. So I think that's going to be next. I also have... I found a lot of things actually that were almost finished. I found 2 pairs of gloves. Oh, hang on. Slight pause because all my family returned. Anyway, so 2 pairs of gloves that had been finished but just needed the ends woven in. There was quite a few items that I decided to pull out and reuse the wool because I'd gone off them or I wasn't going to finish them. And I found one work in progress where I'd finished one whole sock. I can't remember what the yarn's called either, and it's beautiful. I wish I could remember. I don't seem to have the isn't that gorgeous? And this pattern is called My Cup of Tea Socks. I've knitted before and I really like it. The toes are a little bit too pointy for my liking. I prefer more of a rounder toe. But apart from that, I just think it's really, really, really pretty. The pattern is just on the front. It doesn't go all the way around. And the yarn is really pretty. I can't remember who it is. No, can't remember. But I've got one whole sock done, which is halfway, so I'm going to cast the other one of those on and get that done too. So yeah, it was really, really inspiring to sort out my yarn cupboard. It was really inspiring, and I'm really glad that I did it because it feels like a little bit of a weight has been lifted. So most of my craft time has gone into the hat and into sorting out the cupboard, and I've done a little bit of work on Ari's blanket, but not very much. It won't be mostly all hat all the time. I've now seen the vast quantities of wool that I actually own. I won't be buying any, although I did buy some fibre recently, which is really pretty. So when I get a chance to spin, I'll show you that. But on that note, this has been a little bit more chaotic than I hoped for. However, such is my life, and just because my Isabel mocked me relentlessly for drinking a cup of tea through the last podcast, I just want to say, cheers, me darling. I was there in the background all the time. Thanks very much for listening. If there's any information that you need to know or anything like that, you can best place to get a hold of me is on Twitter or on Instagram. They're the best 2 places. Possibly Facebook. Or you can comment on the YouTube channel. If there's any links, I'll try and put them into the description box down there, but I can't imagine that there would be. But I will also throw together a blog post and put that on my blog, which is whittlewaffle.blogspot.uk. It's Whittle. Hang on a minute, I have to sing the song, Sally made for us. It's whittlewaffle.blogspot.co.uk. There you go. Thank heavens for Sally, and cheers. Thanks for watching.